today I want to talk a little bit about flying a kite. Zoe, quiet on the set. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Hello, this is Rosher from Miss Britt Charters. Going to talk today a little bit about tuning a kite. One of the challenges when you put out a kite is how to adjust a kite. A lot of people don't understand the purpose of this little slide right here on the bottom. You see these two marks, a long and a short. We've got it positioned in the middle. I typically fly it anywhere from the middle to the long mark, meaning you see if I slide that out, my bridle just got a little longer. What happens when you slide that mark out is the kite gets a little more angle to it, like this. For instance, if I had it on a shorter mark, the kite would be more vertical. And believe it or not, a kite gets more lift as that center piece or this adjustment is extended. So now this will give me the greatest lift. We convert that lift into rotation with the leads on the corner. I typically like to have the leads near the top of the kite. That gives you more angle with less weight. And that's basically it. If a kite is a little wobbly, sometimes that means this adjustment's a little too far out. So let's say, for instance, I move it out here. You see I'm a little longer than that black mark. And how you can tell if that's too long is we put the kite out, it'll just wobble back and forth. Shorten the bridle, and generally you'll add stability. So something like that should work. Danny's gonna put it out now and check it. One last thing on the kite, very important, is a balloon. One of the reasons we put the balloon is in case the kite falls in the water. Eventually it will happen. There's no panic. If the kite doesn't have a balloon or some piece of foam on it or something to make it float, it sinks. Not like a rock, but it sinks pretty fast. And then once you put pressure on it, it locks up square to the water just like it would to the wind. It becomes really hard to retrieve. And one of the big mistakes you can make if your kite ever hits the water is hitting the electric reel or a hand crank with heavy drag. You can actually break these sticks. Now you have to send the kite back to get new sticks, pain in the neck. But if it has a balloon or foam, something to make it float, then there's no rush. And the good news is it's downwind of you. So all you got to do is really let the boat drift towards it. So if the kite's in the water, very important thing, wind in all your baits because those become extra lines that can tangle. So, and that's it. Hope that helps. So one of the things Danny looks at when he goes to put the kite up is that those bridles that attach to the top of the tips aren't wrapped around the tip because of course that'll make the kite spin. We use a ring and that helps hold our clips in. If you notice the clips are on the top of the kite rod, the little black clips. He puts the kite, the outrigger halfway up so that he can catch clean wind. I'm gonna rotate the boat a little bit like this. Now that's gonna give him clean air to catch that kite. You see how the kite's full of wind there? Now when you look at that kite, it's a little bit too straight. Okay, lock it up there. You see, we want to see more of a 45-degree angle. So he'll bring it in, add more weight to that top left corner, and that'll give us our spread. Again, you convert your lift into spread by adding weights on the corner. See, we free spool the electric, put the rigger up so that now when he lets go of that kite, the pulling point is higher, further away from the water, less likely that the kite will go into the water. You notice the bridles are clean, they're not wrapped around the tips. Kite flies stable. Now that ring helps hold on to these clips that are at the tip of the rod. So now look at the kite. With just a couple more split shots, you've changed the attitude, the angle of that kite. So now the left kite and the right kite are more separated. One of the benefits of kite fishing is the separation of the kites allows you to have better coverage on the water. In other words, a bigger footprint that your bait's covered. So now he's letting the kite out. You're gonna see a stopper eventually that will catch the first clip. That's called the long clip. So now when that stopper comes, there it is. He'll pull the outrigger down and now he'll secure the ring that's above the cork into that clip and let the bait out. So when we bridle the baits, we use a synthetic needle. The advantage of the synthetic needle is it's got rounded edges on the eye, doesn't nick the band. Puts the needle through the nose, wraps it 1 or 2 times, and then puts the hook back under it. Then we 3D print these tubes so that the bait can stay alive while we're getting all the baits hooked on. So he'll have all 3 baits hooked on typically before he'll even put the kite out. So Danny's not happy with the angle that he's got in that kite, so he's simply going to retrieve the kite, add another weight, get a little more angle. So this is how you can really tune a kite. Just keep adding lead until you get that proper hard angle. Somewhere around 45, 50 degrees is generally a good safe angle. So let me turn to give him some clean wind. I'm going to make sure the bridles are not wrapped around the tips. Okay, rigger goes halfway up. He's got clean wind. He locks his kite reel up, lets it go. Easy deployment. You see the kite now, you see how it's laid over a little more? Lock it up right there, Dan. See now, just that extra little bit of weight, it's kicked over at about 50 degrees, a little more than 45 degrees. And that is a really good angle. Now we're getting good spread. That really matters on days that you have south wind or north wind. A lot of fish will swim in a depth. Let's say a sailfish is coming down, or a pack of sailfish coming down at 120 feet of water. If you have all your baits in 110 feet or all your baits in 130 feet, you may miss that school. But today we have a south wind, so we want as much kick and much angle as we can get to these kites so that your long baits are further apart, covering more depths. Basically, if you have north current and these fish are swimming south, we're going to be able to get more depth coverage having hard angles on our kites. So now Danny's going to clip the baits in. He's already got the baits hooked on in the bait tubes. He puts the ring in the clip. The most important thing about that ring is visualize where that ring is right now. The line has to come in our side of the ring from the rod tip and then go out the far side of the ring for the bait. In other words, if that ring is twisted 180 degrees, you're really not gaining the benefit of having a nice polished stainless ring. You want no restriction, you want no friction where the line passes through that ring. So you want a nice clean, it's almost like a pulley that the ring serves. The line has to come in your side and go out the far side. Having the baits pre-rigged and in the tubes really simplifies the process of putting the baits out. And you know, kite fishing is complicated enough just by nature, so anything we can do to make it easier and quicker to deploy baits is a big plus. Now if you notice, when he's letting those baits out, do you see how the corks are above the water? Can you look out there and see the 2 corks? How they're out of the water. That's one thing I'm really a big fan of, is not letting the corks lay in the water, because many times the bait will go down 10, 20, 30 feet underwater, and many times I've had fish eat it. Like a sailfish comes and chases that bait way underwater because the cork is laying in the water. That can cause you to get wrapped up on a fish. A little bit of friction on your drags as the kite is going out allows those corks to have elevation. When the corks are elevated, I can see a sailfish come up behind that bait and eat it. If that cork was laying in the water, maybe you even had 10 or 20 extra feet of slack. Say you throw a big goggle eye out there, he dives down 40 feet and then you let the ring go. Well, a lot of bad things can happen because you have no control of that bait. Sailfish can come up chasing him and get wrapped up. So good job, Danny. See, everything kind of went out one shot. In a matter of a minute or two, you got everything deployed because you've got everything pre-rigged.